Turn to 2 Samuel chapter 24. We've been looking at the life of David. We've looked at the life of Samuel. Saul the first king, why he was dethroned, taken off the throne as king of Israel. We're going to be around verse 17. I think I put the wrong, let's see here, 2 Samuel 24. Yeah, I want 1 Samuel 24. 24.
This is where we left off last time.
Saul has chased David. Saul is jealous of David's popularity with the people. And he wants David out of the way. You know, at first, David came in and played the harp and soothed Saul, and it says the evil spirit left him. Well, when the harp quit playing, the evil spirit came back. I don't know how many times Saul has tried to kill him. And then last week we talked about how David had several opportunities to kill Saul in the cave, and then when they went to investigate Saul and his army, and David slipped up and cut his skirt off.
That was in the cave.
No, took his canteen and went up and said, "Look, I was right over you. I could have took you and got rid of you. Saul, I'm not angry with you. I love you." And David couldn't convince him. And so eventually, in battle against the Philistines, Saul and Jonathan and one of the other sons are killed in battle. But before that happens, Saul says to David, verse 17, "Thou art more righteous than I, for you have rewarded me good where I rewarded thee evil. And you showed this day how that you have dealt well with me. For as much as when the Lord had delivered me into thy hand, you didn't kill me." Verse 21, "Swear now, therefore, unto me by the Lord, that thou wilt not cut off my seed after me, and that thou wilt not destroy my name out of my father's house." And David sware unto Saul. Saul went home. David went and his men up to their stronghold. Well, here's Saul getting the promise of David. Well, Saul's dead. Jonathan's dead. Another one is, there is one of them he does kill, but Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, he deals with him in a very kind way.
3 of David's sons were killed.
Yeah. The only one that doesn't is Ishbosheth. In chapter 2, 2 Samuel chapter 2, 1 through 4, David is anointed king. But in chapter 2, verse 10, it says Ishbosheth reigns for about 2 years. So there's conflict between Saul's house and David's house. And
If you want to know which sons were killed, it's in 31 verse 2.
all right,
Samuel. Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua.
three of them there, of course, including Saul. And is David happy? No. He has deep sympathy. He laments greatly that these Israelites had been killed in battle because he loved them. And so how's he going to deal with this? Now, later on in chapter 5, 2 Kings chapter 5, once again, here come the tribes, and they anoint David again as king. Well, he doesn't really get to have the throne. Look at 2 Kings 9, verse 1.
It looks like there was a split in
In the kingdom.
yeah, a small split. Like half of them followed Abner had a lot to do with it. He's the one that put Ishbosheth in as king, I think.
Who's Abner? He was
the commander of the army.
Right, captain of the host. That served under Saul. And he was a...
But he later came around and joined David.
Yeah, but he was a ruthless soldier, killed a lot of people. But here we find in chapter 9, verse 1, David said, "Is there yet any that is left of your house, left of the house of Saul, that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake?" You ever do somebody a favor because of who they were related to? Or do them a favor because you're holding to them? Well, David is remembering his promise to Saul. I won't destroy your heritage. And he brings Mephibosheth into his house to dine at his table. Verse 6, now when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, was come to David, he fell on his face and did reverence. David said, Mephibosheth? And he answered, behold thy servant. David said unto him, fear not, for I will surely show thee kindness for Jonathan thy father's sake, and will restore thee all the land of Saul thy father, and thou shalt eat at my table continually.
What verse is that?
Chapter 9, verses
2 Kings 9, verse 6 and 7.
No,
2 Samuel chapter
What
9.
did I say?
King,
King.
second king.
Sorry.
I'm
Chris,
sorry.
it's
2 Samuel.
2 Samuel chapter 9, verses 5 through 8 is where we're at.
Sorry,
But I think
misled you
this-
there, Chris.
I think this Ziba guy, he was the servant of Saul. I think he was kind of a bad fellow, or turned out to be if I remember
In
correctly.
verse 9. Well, you go to chapter 10, verse 4, and it says probably something.
I thought he tried to take advantage of all that stuff that David was doing for Mephibosheth, but could be wrong if I'm not remembering.
Well, I'm not quite familiar with that, but
Yeah.
and so here's David for Jonathan's sake, and remembering the promise he made to Saul, being kind to Jonathan's son. Now, through this, then we see the sin of David with Bathsheba, Uriah is killed, and how it displeased God, 2 Kings 11:14 through 27, and how David repents, chapter 12, verses 1 through 14. And there's a statement in chapter 12, verse 10. 12, verse 10. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. What all happens to David? Well, the son that he and Bathsheba had died. No matter how fervently he prayed, God took the boy. What's the famous statement that David said after he heard that the boy was dead? He cleaned up, he went and worshiped, and then he ate, and then he said, I can't go to him. Excuse me, he can't come to me, but I'll go to him. Emphasizing his belief that there's a heaven. That's the way I look at it anyway. So, David repents, but the sword's not going to leave. What does that sword mean? Retribution, results, consequences of his choices. They're going to keep landing in his lap, and he's going to just be tormented time after time. Well, what happened after the little boy died? Well, the daughter is raped by a brother. What happens then? One of the brothers takes revenge against.
But what did that have to do with
That
David and Bathsheba?
this is part of what is going to torment David.
His punishment.
His punishment. God allowing these things to happen. I'm not going to say God made them happen, but when God said the sword's not going to leave your house, I believe God took away his providential care.
In last moment. In the last moment, he cried and started writing songs to God and said, "Forgive me, forgive me."
Chapter 51, Psalms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Conflict. Yes.
Well, verse 11 tells us, it says, Thus says the Lord, Behold, I will raise up evil against you from your own household. I will even take your wives before your eyes and give them to your companion, and he will lie with your wives in broad daylight. Indeed, you did this secretly, but I will do this before all Israel.
It's going to be a house with windows. And take your wives, and you're going to be embarrassed and shamed. That's his son,
Absalom.
Absalom. And he takes those wives up in the palace, and
Up to the roof.
everybody sees it. What an open shame brought on David. Well,
So basically, what I think God is saying is that this sin with Bathsheba just kind of probably destroyed the family and stuff.
well,
Maybe.
imagine parents who fail to teach their children, giving them the wrong example.
David lost control of his family.
That's it.
Yeah.
When you don't raise your children to respect God, to respect truth, to act in a civil way in life, they'll grow up selfish, making decisions that aren't right, and they have to face the consequences. So here's Absalom. After all the other, he rebels. What does Absalom do at the gate of Jerusalem? As the people come in, he says, "Oh, how are you today?" And he shines up to them. What do you need? I'll provide it. David's so busy. You just ask me, and I'll do you a favor. And he gets the popular vote before long. And there's more people following Absalom than David. And, well, it goes to his head. Absalom gets an army, drives David out of the city, starts chasing him, and then we see the death of Absalom. You would think that David would be relieved. Oh, my son is dead. He's out of my hair. He's dead and gone. But he was grieved at the death of his son. So, through all this, after Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Israel, the conspiracy that caused David to flee, we're introduced to Shimei. Go to 2 Samuel 16:5. And when King David came to Bahurim, little place on the map, behold, there came out a man of the family of the house of Saul, basically out of the tribe of Benjamin. He's not a blood relative of Saul per se, but says he's kin. And his name was Shimei, the son of Gera. And he came forth and he cursed still as he came. The picture is here, Shimei coming, and there's a distance. And supposedly there's some kind of ridge, a mountain ridge. I don't know how big the hill is, but it's between David and his men and this man by himself. You know, if you're going to cast insults, are you going to get somebody's face that's bigger than you or has an army? You're going to do it from a distance, aren't you? And here's Shimei shouting, throwing rocks at David. Now, notice what it says about David. Verse 6. And he cast stones at David and at all the servants of King David and all the people and all the mighty men who were on his right hand and on his left. David is surrounded. They're protecting him. How would you react if all of a sudden here comes somebody out of the blue, out of the forest, and you hear this shouting, and as you listen, you think, is he talking that way to me? Probably couldn't believe his ears that this man was jumping down his throat, cursing him. Notice what he says. Somewhere it says, and he told him, get out, get out.
Verse 7.
And Shimei, when he cursed, come out, you bloody man, be gone, you man of blood, and thou man of Belial. What did he just call David?
The devil.
Son of the devil. Yeah.
But Shimei, he later asked for forgiveness, and David forgave him. He had to stay in the city, and then.
But then, does he survive?
Well, his servants ran away, and he went to go get them,
And because he left, then David felt responsible, or he gave his word: if you leave, then that's the day you die.
You should have asked.
He should have got permission, but
Yeah.
we're getting ahead of ourselves. But
Here I go
at
again.
the moment, David is just letting it go. Kind of in one ear, out one ear. You know, I don't know if I could have held my peace. If somebody's insulting you and just in your face cursing you, and what do you want to do?
Kill him.
you want to shut them up, don't you? You know, wring their neck. And here comes Abishai, verse 9, the son of Zerah,
Zariah.
Uriah.
Zariah.
Say that real quick. Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over, I pray you, and I'll take off his head. Do you think this man's talented with a sword? You think he's going to have to practice a little bit before he goes over there? He's like Goliath, who was a soldier, a warrior. He knew how to swing that sword. I think he could have swung that sword one time, and here goes his head rolling down the hill. You know what? This Abishai doesn't change. We see him earlier in 1 Samuel 26, verse 8, when David has an opportunity to kill Saul. Here's Abishai saying, you know what? God has put him here in front of you, and you can end this. Let me kill him.
He likes to kill people, don't he?
That's right. What was that other army guy you told me about?
Abner?
Abner and Abishai. They're ready to end somebody's life just like that. Men of war, death isn't anything for them. They don't have mercy. They're there to win the battle. They are there to protect the king.
But David knew all this was brought on by his own actions.
Yeah, I
He
like
said,
what
"Leave him
David
alone."
says in verse 11. David said to Abishai and to all his servants, behold my son, which came forth of my bowels and seeks my life. How much more may this Benjamite do it? Let him alone. Let him curse. For the Lord has bidden him. Now, did God send Shimei? I don't know. Might have been working on his own, defending Saul. And, you know, he thinks David has been deceiving to take Saul's throne. But David didn't do anything to take Saul's throne, did he? He told several times, how can I work ill against God's anointed king? So just as he let Saul live, he's letting Shimei live.
You could certainly see how somebody like that could get that point of view that David just took the throne because of that other guy was son's Abishai or whatever his name was, started with an I.
Yeah.
You know, he was the king for 2 years, and then here comes David and just takes it away.
That was Ishbosheth.
Yeah. So they could certainly see how somebody could have that point of view.
Look at 12. It may be that the Lord will look on my affliction, and that the Lord will requite me good for his cursing this day. What is he saying? Something's good going to come out of this. He's showing refrain. He's showing control. You know, in our society, there's a lot of negative, isn't there? I think our society's polarized. You got one group here and you got one group on the other side. And they're get in the middle. And, you know, when someone is strong in their belief, they're ready to go to war. You know, I've heard for the last 2 years that there's going to be a civil war, that there's going to be bloodshed in America. I hope that never happens. You know, we had the Civil War, North against the South. How many people died for no reason. Just because General said, go here, do this, shoot them. We hate the gray, we hate the blue, you know.
Well, they were trying to end slavery. That's what they was.
Well, I think there was some more
But
truth to that.
I took a lot of naps in history class, so I don't
Did
know.
you? Yeah. Uh, did David have to do this? He could have easily had Shimei put to death.
But lots of good moral lessons to come from that little story there too about how do we control ourselves when somebody's losing their temper at us.
Well, that's what I want us to finish with.
Oh.
You know, are we going to, somebody cast insults against us, are we going to return the same? When you get down on the level of those people, what have you done? You've lessened your value. You have become like them. When we seek revenge, when we seek somebody's hurt, as a Christian, what should we long for? Somebody's soul saved. And we've got to love, and we've got to act better than someone that's out of control, full of hatred and anger. I think, yes, imitating David in this respect will show who we belong to. What lessons can we come from? Is criticism bad?
Not if it's teaching you how to do something better, it's not bad.
If you are in error and no one tells you, do you have a chance to grow, to put that, to correct it? Well, I had something coming and I lost it. But go to First Peter. Here's the perfect example. In fact, 1 Peter chapter 2.
It's always called constructive criticism.
Yes.
And when I was always told about that, it's like if you gotta do that to somebody, then you tell them what they're doing wrong, but you also tell them something that they're doing right. So they get.
Excuse me. Ask first, is it correct? If it is, are you going to let pride get in the way and say, oh, they don't know what they're talking about? Or are you going to humble yourself and repent and change and correct yourself? First Peter 2, let's begin at verse 21. For even hereunto were you called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps. So we're called to do what? Walk in his steps. Imitating him, right? Who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. That's verse 22. 1 Peter 2:22. What's guile? It's not the bile that comes from your
It's just filthy.
inners. It's just filthiness. It's deceit. It's ugliness. Who, when he was reviled not again. How many curse words did Jesus hear? Thrown at him. How ugly were the enemies of Christ? They didn't hold back. The devil was in complete control there. And when he suffered, he threatened not. You know, sometimes we feel like, how dare you? I'm going to get even with you. I'm going to get you back. You hurt me, I'm going to hurt you double. But not Jesus. But he committed. When you commit yourself to something, what are you saying? Here's what I'm going to hold on to. Here's what I believe. If you act according to what you believe, you're going to do better than the world, because the world is listening to the father of lies. He committed himself unto him, God, that judges righteously. You know what Jesus is saying? God's going to take care of this in his way. He is just. He's fair. And I'm going to leave it in his hands. It's not our place to seek revenge.
How many times does the Bible say,
To forgive?
well, don't seek revenge. Don't seek out your own vengeance.
That's right. Who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we being dead to sins should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes were you healed.
You know, if we keep trying to seek revenge against people, we may lose the opportunity to teach them the gospel.
Exactly.
Because if you forgive a person, there's a good chance that you can build a relationship with those people and with that person. And
When Stephen was taken out and stoned, how did he react? It says they looked upon him and as if the Spirit of God was upon him. Sometimes we might not even say something, but our facial expression says, I hate you. I'm mad. You're out of control. You might be controlling your words, but you're not controlling how you are steaming inside. You're boiling over. But you know, you better not say anything because you'll say it wrong. Well, Stephen said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And he gave up the ghost. So the Lord, and Stephen, others, as examples of how to react. You know, it's our reaction to these things. Before we act and think about it, maybe we won't reach that point of hating and seeking revenge. I think this is a great example of how David showed character, his strength. He had come through a lot. He made some mistakes. He repented, and he suffered, and he grieved, but he still relied on God. That's what we need to do. Be sure and rely on God. Anybody else? Well, we'll continue with the life of King David next week. Appreciate your comments. You're dismissed.